back to In Spirit. I'm Missy Reno Smith.
And I'm Vanna Smith, and in this episode we're going to be talking about trauma. So let's start off with, what is trauma?
Well, trauma is, I guess it's anything negative.
Yeah.
Anything we experience in this world that's negative is a trauma on some level.
Yep.
Not all of those traumas are sticking with us, but certainly a negativity of any kind is sort of traumatic.
Do we write into our life plan to be traumatized? You know, I mean, specifically the things that like stick with us, do we write that into our plan?
Yes. Earth is a school. We come here to learn. Our lessons are planned.
Yep.
We have chosen our lessons. You can think of it like being in school and you're choosing your classes. Mm-hmm. You chose your classes.
Yeah.
So, yes, you did choose it. Is it about negativity? I mean, it's about the challenge. It's about overcoming challenges.
Yep.
It's about earning wisdom from our experiences. So, yes.
Why do only certain traumas seem to really stick with us? You know, like sometimes someone may have been in a car accident and that didn't traumatize them at all, but maybe they once had someone abused them or something, like, you know, someone said like a father hit them when they were a kid and that stuck with them. You know, why do only certain things seem to stay with us?
Well, it depends on the severity of the trauma. It depends on the type of trauma. Is it happening over and over again? That can affect it. It's all trauma is different. It's unique. All trauma is unique. And if it's going to stick with us, this is unique as well because we're unique individuals.
Yep.
And so sometimes it just does. Sometimes we have a trauma that sticks with us and we're like, why?
Yeah.
Why is that sticking with me? It doesn't seem like it should, but yet it is. So sometimes it's even kind of hard to explain why.
Yeah. I mean, you've worked with like many, many clients who have had, very traumatic past. You do trauma releases. How does trauma affect us spiritually?
Well, okay, and that's how I address trauma, right? Because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm a psychic medium. And so, body, mind, spirit, they're all connected, but I deal with the spirit side.
Yep.
And so when people come to me with trauma and they're feeling stuck in life, because this is what happens when we're traumatized and it's sticking with us, it's keeping us stuck somehow. Like we're not able to, sort of put one foot in front of the other in certain areas of life, or even in general, depending on how, bad the trauma is and that. So when people come to me with their trauma, our goal is to release the spiritual block that is sticking with them. And it's very important that my clients are working with, other professionals that deal with the, any physical and mental aspects of their trauma, because that's just not something that I'm going to deal with. Certainly, they're all connected. And so releasing the spiritual trauma is going to affect our physical body, and it's going to affect our mental health and such. But you still need to work on those areas.
Because, can trauma, affect you in, each life you have? Like, you might carry some trauma from a past life. Can that happen?
Yeah, it's called cell memory. So cell memory is a trauma from a past life that is here. Because, I get people who are saying, I'm stuck, but I don't know how I'm stuck. I should be fine, but I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. And typically we need to do a past life regression to go backwards and look. And yes, I can look for them. I do. People ask me about their past lives all the time. I'm happy to talk about it, but I always say, do a regression.
Yeah.
Because you need to see it yourself.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's just a story. I'm telling you, how do we validate it? You need to get the feelings and all of that. So we'll do a regression so that they can confront it.
Yeah.
Although it's a very, very, it's not meant to re-traumatize. I mean, we're there for information. We're not there to like fully re-experience it,
Yeah.
but we need to understand it so that we know what it is so we can release it.
But why do we really, keep that? Because, like, every life we, plan it out, our own individual traumas for that life. Why do we have to keep the ones from the past?
We don't keep all of them.
Yeah.
The wisdom that you have earned, it stays with you. I mean, it stays with you and such. But occasionally, sometimes we bring a trauma too.
Yeah.
And again, it's cell memory. It's like you come back into the body and you're like, whoa, I'm back on Earth. And when I'm on Earth, I feel this way because this happened to me. And so it's just the body remembering. I mean, it's a different body, but it's still a physical body, and your true body, your God body, your soul body is connected to it. So it just sort of comes back. I don't have like an exact science to explain it. It just happens. We call it cell memory.
Typically when you, do regressions with clients and they keep that trauma, is it usually like the big traumas, or is it sometimes like the really small ones?
Oh, I've seen both. I mean, typically it's going to be the bigger stuff.
Yep.
But I've seen little things affect people. And I think sometimes repetition is an issue. So if you've experienced the same lessons in life, various lives, and just sort of happening over and over, that might stick with you. A lot of times, it doesn't come up until it's triggered.
Yeah.
Something happens in this life and it sort of reminds us, oh my gosh, when this happens, then I feel like this.
Yeah.
And we don't really know where it's coming from, but it's happening and it's overwhelming and it's keeping us stuck.
Do we put into our life plan to get triggered by certain things, like, do we write it down? We're up there, we're like, well, we went through this trauma, so now every time I see this or hear this or this happens, I'm gonna like kind of relive it.
It could be written into your plan, yeah. Not always though. I think sometimes it just happens and then it's like we got to deal with that.
Yeah.
But sure, you could have it if it's really severe.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's really severe, it's got to be in the plan. I mean, for something to be to kind of come in and really kind of turn your world upside down, it really has to be in the plan to happen. So absolutely, yeah.
But like sometimes little like tiny daily things or whatever for some people who may have like PTSD or things like that, sometimes it isn't really just written in the plan that day they had to get triggered by this. That
specific day? No. I mean, it'll depending on how it goes and that. But it's definitely something, something that's, you're going to be constantly triggered if you're going to, that is in the plan.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of trauma, from moving around a lot, as a kid, kind of always having to be up and going due to my dad's job, and basically like any time that we have to suddenly get up and go, I do get a little bit that, I guess, kind of triggered feeling of, that dreadfulness, that kind of like, it's very depressing that kind of everything that was just built in that one place was lost. Do you have like that same thing?
Yeah, I mean, yes, on moving, sort of. Like, I mean, this is my life, and I chose it, and you chose it too.
Yeah,
because we choose. But yeah, I mean, we've been moving your whole life. Yeah. I think as you were speaking, I was actually thinking back to you when you were 3 years old, and we were leaving Minnesota. And we were only there for a very, very, very short time, but that's where family lives. And, you were with Grandma and Grandpa, and you were protesting.
Yeah.
You sat on the steps and protested. You wouldn't leave. You were saying, nope, I'm staying with Grandma.
Yeah.
And
I love my grandma.
yeah.
Love you, Grandma.
Grandma's lovable. And so you just sat there on the steps protesting. We literally had to pick you up and put you in the car.
Wasn't it on, like, Christmas Day?
It was on Christmas Day at night after, of course, Daddy wanted to get on the road.
Yeah.
And we're like, can we just stay over one more night?
Yeah.
Nope, had to get on the road. And we were going to Texas, and Texas was so wonderful for us. We had a lot of fun there, but it was really tough leaving that time. We've left many places and that. So, so that's a trauma that you have. So, when you hear that we're going to move again, I'm sure that dread creeps up.
Yeah, it immediately brings back all the memories of getting up and going. One particular memory it always brings back is specifically every time we're about to leave a house and we're like doing the last boxes. I just remember one moment when we were leaving our first house in New York, since we lived in 2 houses there, of me pulling my little like pink cart thing full of my dolls and crying as we're going because I didn't want to go. It was like nighttime and I'm like, I just don't want to leave. I'm done with this. I just want to go to sleep and I just want to, like certain things just like bring it back, when moving has always been a struggle for me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, moving is it's tough, and especially on children.
Yeah.
Going somewhere different, new, and that. So, yeah, it's when we're traumatized, everything is very vivid, and that. But here's the thing about that trauma, though. Is it keeping you stuck in life? Do you feel like it is?
When it does keep me stuck is usually right after we get to the new place. Because, you feel that kind of like that, I have to start over now, and it's can be really, really hard to do. Especially, when I would make friends in places and then we had to go.
Yeah.
So it can be feeling like a bit stuck in those moments. I always, get out of it and I, just...
You persevere and you're challenged, but you tend to move forward.
Yeah.
But it is still a trauma that you're carrying, but and there might be things that do have you stuck from it and worthy of a release.
Yeah.
And I think it perhaps is. I do, but ultimately you do push forward, and I think that most people are able to typically push forward, but sometimes we can't.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel like I've done everything that I can do, but I can't get through this.
Yeah.
And but I don't know. Do you have do you get thoughts that come up in your mind about it even when we're not thinking about moving?
I would say definitely, for sure. Mostly when I think about my future and the future of my own children, I think it kind of, in some ways, I'm almost grateful for the trauma, you know what I mean? Because I feel like it's taught me how I envision how I want my kids to grow up and how I want their life to look like and how I also want my future life to look like. So when I think about my own future, I guess I also think about that past. Right. You know what I mean? So it does definitely pop into my head a lot. Mostly, I just think about I just want one place to stay in life. You know, I never, I'm 19 years old now. I want to stay in one spot. We're here in Arizona and we might be staying here, which is very exciting for me. But, just want to stay in one place, have one home.
That's been my goal this whole time, the forever home. I want my forever home. Moving is really hard. But but what I'm hearing from you too is I'm hearing that you got exactly what you're supposed to get from it, which is wisdom. That you've been able to see the challenge, through the challenge you've been able to earn wisdom, and you can see that. Yeah. And so that's what is encouraging to me. There's still maybe some residuals in there that could be released, but ultimately I think that you're probably okay. Yeah. It's not keeping you from
living my life.
Yeah. So you're but and that's not to mean though that our feelings aren't. I mean, how we feel about it and how we're feeling inside. I mean, I'm not trivializing that. But you're not stuck per se. But we could work on
just the feelings of the
right
when it happens, that sort of thing. Yeah,
sure.
But are we not always really meant to move forward? Like I can do the trauma releases and I can do things like that, but am I meant to get rid of all of that trauma? Like if it's in my life plan, do I have to keep some of it?
Well, the point is to be challenged and to move on.
Yeah.
So I do believe that the point is then to release the trauma, to and whether we're just doing that naturally or whether we need help, we're supposed to be challenged, learn from that challenge, and move forward.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. We're here to learn, and that's one way we learn.
Yeah.
So yes, so I believe that you are supposed to. You came here to be challenged. You are challenged. You're being challenged. We're always being challenged. We're always learning, and we're always experiencing little traumas, at least, sometimes big traumas. I mean, any negative interaction that you have is a trauma. I mean, think about how much we might obsess over interactions. You have an interaction with somebody that is negative, and you'll think about it over and over and over. You can't get it out of your mind.
Yeah.
You just keep going over it, and that's normal. That's normal human behavior. Now, it's got you stuck in a loop.
Yep.
And so we have to get out of it. And typically we can just naturally move forward.
Yep.
We just need to, sometimes we need to talk about it enough. We need to feel heard. We need to tell everybody our story. Right?
Yeah.
And, we just want to feel heard, I think, sometimes, because if it's about an interaction that went negative, typically we didn't feel heard in that interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and then you replay it in your head and you're just thinking of all the ways you could have done better in that interaction, or maybe won an argument or something,
Yeah. And so even in the replaying of it, we're still learning.
Yeah. Right.
And aren't we still gaining wisdom from it, even though it's the actual thing's over? So there's some utility in that. But if we're stuck there, if we can't get out of it, whether it was just an interaction and, whether it was, something we did or said or somebody, or something somebody else did. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, if we're stuck and we just can't move forward, we have to find a way to release it.
But there's also, people who repress a lot of trauma as well, which to me I think is a very interesting topic to talk about here, because, we write these traumas into our life plan. We're supposed to be learning from them, but if we're supposed to be learning from them, why do we sometimes repress it? Because, sometimes people repress their traumas and it comes back later on and they remember it. Sometimes people suppress it and it never comes back. So why is that?
Well, I think that it's a protective measure.
Yep.
So that it's a way to protect ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if it's been repressed and it doesn't come back, it wasn't meant to come back. It was, you got what you needed from it, and you just consciously didn't need to remember it.
Yeah.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's repressed and it's not affecting you, let's not rock the boat.
But that can kind of cause a bit more trauma for people who maybe only remember certain things about some things, if they really want to remember the whole thing, but they can't.
Sure. Yeah, that would be a trauma in and of itself too.
Yeah.
If it's not been fully repressed, you're saying? Yeah, that would be difficult. But at the same time, I think myself, I would be if I can't maybe this is God's way of saying just let it go.
Yeah.
That's how I personally might address it. Depending on what it is, depending on and how obsessed I am about it, or but yeah, I mean, it's something. If you feel like you need to explore it, explore it.
Yeah.
If you just feel like I have to explore this, I think somebody should. And but and you asked about when we repress something and then something triggers it,
Yep.
and then it comes back. And yeah, that in and of itself is traumatic too, because it was fully repressed.
Yep.
And then now all of a sudden you're aware of it.
Yeah.
And what do I do with this?
Mm-hmm.
And, that's jarring, extremely jarring. And you got to deal with it.
Yeah.
You got to go see somebody. You got to deal with it.
Yeah.
If it has you stuck, you got to go deal with it. And, there are incredible therapists out there that can help. There are lots of different trauma healing modalities out there that people can look to. I myself have experienced holographic memory resolution, HMR, with a very good friend of mine, William Thomas Wagner. He won't mind me talking about him. He's retired, but
shout out William Thomas Wagner.
and he's incredible, incredible hypnotherapist that really did help me get over some of my own fears. Because I didn't want to go pro. I really didn't, and it was gnawing at me. And, it was like, why can I do all of this if I'm not doing anything with it fully? I mean, I was, people, I would help people, but, not in a big way. And, so, and he kind of just, he helped me get over a few of my issues.
Yep.
And so that I could move forward and feel comfortable and do what I do.
And become the one and only Missy Reno Smith.
That's right. That's right. But, no, but I had a few traumas, totally unrelated, too, to what I do. I mean,
Really?
I had some past life stuff. I had something from this life that had me, it was this really... I mean, when I think about it now, I'm like, why was that bugging me? But it was. But, there was a incident in a treehouse.
Yeah.
And, there was a weight limit in the treehouse. And there were several of us up in this treehouse. And some other kids wanted to come up. And we had to tell them no.
Yeah.
And they went and got, their dad, and... we're trying to explain we're not trying to like not include them. We're just like, there's a weight limit. We can't have everybody up here, and that scared me. The parent that came, really scared me. And it sounds funny now, but like it really did affect me.
Yeah.
And my views on authority figures and I had to release it.
Yeah.
And once I did, I felt better.
Yeah.
I felt better. Like I had a fear like of authority figures and that was just unnecessary because of it and that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, there's just certain, like I have little things too that I just, like randomly pops up and, it's like, why is that even a thing that still bothers me? It happened like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
And it was like such a small thing, but it just can pop up, can just really affect you.
Well, when I went through the healing experience, I had another memory, something that I had sort of repressed.
Yeah.
But I had, as a teenager, and I was just, working a retail job, I had a manager corner and cage me. And he was angry about something I hadn't even done.
Yeah.
And he came over, and I was literally backed into a corner, and I wasn't able to go anywhere.
It's scary.
It was extremely scary. He was yelling at me for something I hadn't done. And he had me cornered and caged. And ultimately, this is how trauma can like latch on, layer. Little things that are similar experiences will, layer on top of each other. And so when we uncovered the one, then suddenly that became clear to me. And so he helped me release various things. There was a couple of past life issues, losing a husband early on in life was a traumatic life for me, and it made me fearful in my current marriage, and my current life in my marriage, and I had to release that because I was afraid all the time. I was afraid, something was going to happen to him, to Daddy. So he helped me release that, and it was it was very important for me. And in my work, I don't do the same type of release with clients. I have a different method.
Yeah.
The method that I use, I just call it spiritual trauma release.
Yep.
But it's something that I created with the help of my angels. And I've done it with many, many clients over the years, with many, many trauma types.
Yep.
And big, small, I mean, I don't know. Trauma's trauma, right?
It is, yeah.
If it has a stuck, it doesn't really matter. But we've used it on all sorts of things, and it's really rewarding work for me. I really enjoy it. Helping other people move forward is something that makes me happy.
Yeah, I mean, you helped me, with one of my past life traumas. In my last life, I lost my mother in like a really, really horrific way, so I came into this life attached to you, never wanting to let you go.
Literally, we were attached you were like attached to my hip.
Yep.
Day
we
one.
were just inseparable. I mean, we're still pretty inseparable, but, it was definitely a lot more.
It was different.
It was different. Like, I would leave the house or go to sleepovers, and I couldn't stand being away from you because I'd just be worried about you.
When we signed you up for kindergarten, before we started homeschooling, you did go to kindergarten and first grade.
In first grade.
And when we signed you up, I had taken you to the school with me, and, signing all the papers, getting ready. You'll be going the next school year. You had no idea what we were doing in there.
Yeah.
We get home and you ask me, what were you doing with those papers?
Yeah.
And I explained to you that I was signing you up for kindergarten. You cried for 45 minutes straight. You sobbing, and you were sitting on my lap and just holding me, squeezing me, sobbing this entire time because you were so fearful of having to go to school.
Yeah.
And you saw how much your brother and sister, they enjoyed going to school at that time, and you just didn't want any part of it, though.
Yeah. I mean, I was having so much fun at home with you. We were always watching, Goonies, E.T.
Having a great time.
Yeah, you would, give me, I remember you'd make me lunch, then you'd give me a snack. Usually it was, white chocolate chips. I remember that. And I was having a great time, having a blast, and then you just come in and ruin it by saying, time to go to school. And maybe I had a little bit of, a sense, too, that I wouldn't like school, and school was tough for me, school was very traumatic for me. I hold a lot of trauma just from school.
Me too.
I mean, and I was only there kindergarten and first grade, but I was bullied a lot, kids would, hit me. I had the kid punch me as I came down a slide once, and that hurt. Kids would call me fat, ugly, whatever, and it's kindergartners and first graders, I couldn't believe some of the things these kids would say, but it was traumatic, so
I got the same thing when I was in school. Same. And it was really rough. I think a lot of people have a lot of school traumas,
because kids are just mean.
And but it's how it affects us all, I think, is different. And we've never really released any school traumas for you.
No.
I've never needed to release mine, and I had a lot too. But I think school is I think childhood, just in a general sense, can be traumatic.
Childhood is traumatic. They say it's one of the most traumatic parts of your entire life is when you are a baby and a toddler. Everything's stressful. Everything's new. You don't understand anything. You're helpless. You're reliant on people.
Yeah,
and when those people fail you, it is very traumatic.
Yeah, very vulnerable time. And you're getting older and you have a little more control, and you're starting school, and then you're dealing with all these other young people, and school. I find the school experience to be odd because it's not like real life.
Yeah.
It's not like in a community. When you're out in a community, there's people of all ages, and and in a school system, you're basically stuck there with a few authority figures, a few adults, and then everybody else is about the same age.
Yep.
And it's just kind of an odd, it's an odd experience.
I mean, it's hard having, like, siblings who are about your age, you know, because they're mean enough to you already. But then they put you in, like, a classroom full of, like, 20 of them. It's a nightmare.
It's tough. But there's so many great experiences that come from, those ages as well.
Absolutely,
It's not all negative, but yeah, there's a lot that's going on. I mean, I can't think of a whole lot of school. I mean, I've had clients who've needed school traumas released, but definitely we get a lot of abuse. I mean, that's big. Whether it was childhood or adult or, sexual assault, it's huge traumas to carry. Just, grieving, loss. Sometimes clients, just coming to me and just getting a reading and hearing from their loved one, that's enough, but sometimes a client needs a little something extra.
Yep.
And we might do a trauma release with them because it's just so deep. And grief isn't something that we release per se, though. I don't want to make it sound, because grief is something that we learn to live with.
Yeah.
We will always miss our loved ones. That's never going to stop. And but we can certainly learn to manage it better. Yeah. So I just wanted to state that, because I don't want to make it sound like I can magically remove somebody's grief.
Yeah.
I can help you with it, and as a, within my realm, from the spiritual aspect, but I can't take it away.
Yeah.
I also can't take away, what's happened. It's not about that too.
You can't just snap your fingers and make someone forget about all their trauma.
No, I can help you release the negativity, the block.
Yeah.
But the experience happened.
Yeah.
We want to get to the point where you have overcome it and you're at the wisdom part.
Yep.
Now you just get to enjoy the wisdom that you gained from it. What did you learn from it? And that's where we want to get to from the spiritual side again, because I sometimes oftentimes, it's body, mind, spirit.
Yep.
And so you need help on the other side from people whose roles are to do those very things, which is not my role.
Yeah.
My role is not therapist. My role is not doctor. My role is medium.
Yeah.
So, and, spiritual helper, advisor, whatever. I mean, how people refer to me in so many ways.
Yeah.
But definitely that's what I do. So I mean, I enjoy helping people. I can help. There are people that I've had that we've made progress with, but ultimately they just weren't ready to fully let go, and they're still be working on it. So I also don't want to make it sound like
might just be in your life plan that you have to continue with it.
Sure. Sometimes, and I think everybody I've worked with, we've accomplished something. Yeah. Like, so I don't. I mean. But there are times where somebody is kind of still struggling in need of something else.
And it is important that, people seek out a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a doctor, and talk about their traumas. If they're really, really struggling, it's important to, as you said, mind, body, and spirit. Absolutely.
You gotta deal with the trifecta here. You gotta deal with all of them. And I think that I think most people who are experiencing severe trauma understand that, how it's affecting them, because it really does. I mean, there's a physical aspect to it.
Yeah.
There's a a mental health aspect to it, and then there's the spiritual side, and it's just there.
Yeah.
It's just happening, and because they are connected, you can't disconnect those three things.
Yeah. Trauma is very stressful. I mean, I find for me it's, good to just relax. I mean, I meditate every day, to try to just relax, and, not even just necessarily about trauma, but about just everything. It's good to just kind of center yourself.
It is helpful to release every day.
Yep.
if you have a meditative practice, even if it's only for a minute,
Yep.
just take 1 minute out of your day.
I mean, I usually just lay down, lay down, or I'll sit and I'll just close my eyes and maybe a couple minutes, maybe sometimes only 5 minutes, just do that. And then right before I go to sleep too, because that's the easiest time to do it.
It is.
You're at the end of your day.
Yeah.
There's not any other distractions. You can just lay there, meditate. It also helps you fall asleep too. You get nice and sleepy. So
this is what I tell my clients. But right away when you wake up and right before you go to sleep, just take a minute or two and just center, release any negativities from the day, or anything that you might, when you wake up, that you might be feeling you're carrying. Release it, and so that you can just move forward and try to prevent these things from becoming blockages, spiritual blockages. It's helpful.
And also I want to mention, since we were talking about trauma today, if you are struggling with trauma, whether you're a veteran or you're just a regular person, or you're feeling, sad or down or suicidal, dial 988. That's the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Go talk to somebody, get some help. Heal yourself. It's more than just about the spiritual side. And also for our veterans, the Veterans Crisis Line is 1-800-273-8255. So dial it if you need help, please.
Yeah. And we don't have to feel embarrassed about needing help.
Yeah.
Everybody needs help.
Yeah.
Everybody needs help at some point. So that's important stuff. Your life is important. We care about you.
God loves you.
God loves you. Absolutely. So please call those numbers if you need to.
Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you for joining us. And 988. If you need it, 988.
Remember that God loves you, and I'm sending angels your way.
If you'd like to learn more about Missy Reno Smith, please visit MissyRenoSmith.com to book a reading and purchase her artwork. You can find the In Spirit Podcast on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook, and wherever you stream your podcasts.